Serious. People often advise, don't burn any bridges, but what's a bridge you were happy to burn? Story 1. The only advice I've ever given or taken about burning bridges is, if you have to burn a bridge, nuke that idiot from orbit. The last thing you want to do is crawl back over a smoldering bridge. As for a bridge I burned, my former boss was a complete and utter jerk. He talked down to me and pretty much everyone. He decided that I did not have any expertise in a software system I designed and wrote. So he went to the director with his grand plan to make it better. The director gave him the go-ahead. The problem was, everything this clown did was explicitly forbidden by FERPA, a violation of core policy or a violation of multiple federal agency rules. When I saw what this guy was doing, I pointed out the issues. I was told to get the crap out of his way. He was doing what he wanted and that I was just a freaking moron for not realizing that he was a genius. I packed my stuff and walked out. The a-hole called after the stuff hit the fan, never picked up his call. The director called. I told him if they were the last job on earth, I would never go back to them. He made the decision to follow that dude over my objections and they deserve each other. Both were fired shortly after. One of them showed up a few years later as an interviewee trying to get a job where I worked. I was the lead interviewer. That was a fun interview. They left after 5 questions knowing full well there was no way they'd get in. It was the clown boss that came in for the interview. I let the hiring manager ask the first few questions. The question I asked that made him leave was something along the lines of, tell us about a project that you were involved with where everything fell apart. What do you think you could have done differently to prevent it? If you have been in IT for any length of time, you usually have at least one project where everything went wrong, just the nature of the beast. For the record, that is one of the standard HR-approved questions I ask everyone. It was just really nice to know the answer beforehand. Story 2. Short-term relationship, less than a month, with a girl that saw me less as a person and more as a resource. After we broke up, she graduated uni and moved overseas. When she got back, she got in contact with me and asked for a catch-up lunch. This was the first time I'd heard from her in 5 years, so I agreed. At lunch, she told me that she needed me to find her a job, find her a place to live, and lend her enough to buy a car. I gave her a fairly enthusiastic lecture and left her with a bill. I'd have pointed her to the nearest retail store and said, they're hiring. Good luck. Story 3. I worked on the railways on an agency contract. I had a week off sick, unpaid, because I'd worked 12-hour shifts for 9 days straight and my body just shut down. Phoned in and okayed it with a boss, went to my GP, doctor, and had a blood test. Turned out I was anemic and I'd lost weight, probably because of the long shifts and lack of proper food and the short breaks at work. I came back a week later and I was told, in no uncertain terms, that if I had any more time off sick, I needn't bother coming back. I had no employment rights because technically I was on a 0-hour contract, even though it was rare for me to work anything less than 45 hours a week. So I pretended for a few weeks that I'd forgotten the comment. I then booked all of the allocated holiday in one go, all 3 weeks of it. Because it was out of peak season and there were no strikes planned, they could do nothing but accept my request. A few days before the end of my holiday, I sent an email to the HR department at the agency explaining that I'd like 2 more weeks off work, unpaid, because I was out of the country. Again, can't deny that because I claimed to be out of the country and unable to return, and I was on 0 hours. 2 weeks later, and the night before I was due to return to work, I faxed them my resignation, stating I was leaving with immediate effect. That way, they would only read it first thing the next morning when I was supposed to arrive for my shift. They then have to locate somebody urgently to replace me. I did this because the agency paid us 2 weeks in arrears, and the contract states that if you don't give 2 weeks notice before you resign, you forfeit all money owed to you. But because I just had 2 weeks off unpaid, they had just paid me for the 2nd and 3rd week of my allocated paid holiday. They didn't owe me any money, and so they couldn't withhold anything from me. I knew the boss was annoyed because I received my P45 attached to an email, and in the email it said, because of my disregard for their resignation policy, they are unwilling to provide an employee reference to any future employee. Joke's on them, I left to become self-employed. Story 4. My husband's parents. My husband and I are a same-sex couple. My husband's mother is very religious, Mormon, and when she found out we planned to adopt, she left us a very angry email about how gay people can't raise children. She told us how badly we would ruin these children and things of that nature. This is coming from a woman who kicked her teenage son out of the house when she found out he was gay. My husband was fortunate to have an aunt who was more than willing to allow him to live with her, and we're still super close to her and her 2 kids. It boggles my mind that his mother could say those things. You kicked your own child out of your house, but we're the ones who will be horrible parents? She was angry because she believed that all kids deserve a mother and a father. When I pointed out to her how many kids were in the foster system in our state, she said that I should leave that to God. My husband wasn't on speaking terms with her at that point, but I was still open to making the relationship work. After that, I told her that we were going to have children, and if that was something that she couldn't handle, then she shouldn't contact us anymore. I don't want to subject my kids to that. We haven't heard from her since. Side note, we're currently in the process of adopting 2 young children. We haven't ruined them yet.
Ooh, something came in the mail today. I wonder what it is. It's Rufus Ruggs!
Got him!
Now, hopefully after this ad plays, you two can say you got him! A rug from Rufus Ruggs. Now me and the boys have been grinding nonstop 24/7, making one-of-one hand-tufted premium rugs. Now there's a chance you own a carpet that looks something like this. Let's just be real, it's time for an upgrade. And luckily for you, me and the boys from Rufus Rugs are at your service. We don't make those average cheap quality looking rugs. Nope, not gonna happen. Each one is handcrafted to perfection. No shortcuts, no robot assembly lines, and no dropshipping BS. Just pure rug grind. Whether you love anime, sports, cars, or anything else you can think of, we can turn it into a rug. So click the first link in the description and have your custom idea come to life.
Story 5. The relationship with my sister. I think the fire was started when she asked me if I loved her and I asked if she wanted to hear the truth. When she said yes, I told her that no, not in any way, shape, or form. She's a cancer to the people around her. She creates drama when there's no need for it, and she constantly plays the victim. She is unappreciative, constantly negative, and cares about no one but herself or what someone can do for her. She thinks the bridge is salvageable, but all she is to me is a week off of work when she bites the dust, which can be soon enough. My only sadness will be for my father, who will be reeling from the loss of a child. She always says she wants to change, but anytime she shows progress, it fails to pan out and she slides right back to where she's at. I've been done with her life of chutes and ladders for quite some time now. Jeez, is their sister BoJack Horseman? Story 6. Former roommate. He paid his full half of the rent maybe once, but I couldn't afford it all on my own. So as less and less rent gets paid, he starts talking about moving out and I say, stay for now and pay what you can. Thinking obviously more about myself and the importance of sticking to my lease. His girlfriend moves in and I'm glad because she's actually paying most of his rent. Finally comes to a head when he spends all his money on cigs and asks me for money to get his kid, who only sees him every other weekend, food and diapers. It ends in an actual fight because he's an idiot who wants to get in my face when I start telling him to be responsible for his kid. I tell him the only reason he's still allowed to stay here is the money and it's not worth it, so he needs to leave now. He says, I thought you wanted me to stay because you were in love with me. Holy crap. I said, hell no. Get out of my house now and don't look back. I certainly didn't. Story 7. Lost my job a year and a half ago. I already had my complaints about my boss, but nothing big. Went in to get my last paycheck and he took a good chunk out of it for bar tabs I'd apparently left open. That was May 15th. Already past the tax deadline. I'd already filed for an extension because he kept saying I'd get my 2014 W-2. I didn't get it until July after texting and emailing him weekly. This year I dealt with the same thing. He completely ignored all my texts and emails and did not send me my W-2. I filed for an extension and in October, after never hearing from him, called the IRS to see if I could get a copy from him. They didn't have it. He never actually filed my taxes. My coworkers got theirs, mostly late and after weeks of pestering. So the IRS is looking into it, and I need to file my taxes, now late with an estimated income. Here's the tricky part. We all got handwritten checks from him, no pay stubs. If we wanted, we could sign the check over to him and he would cash it out of the till right then. He also demoted me from kitchen manager at $12 per hour to cook at minimum wage. I still had to train the new manager, who rage quit after 2 weeks during a particularly bad Sunday brunch. Hadn't actually told me my pay was getting cut. I only found out when my next check was a few $100s short. Honestly, I have no idea how much I earned from him in 2015. He may not know either. If it comes down to a full-blown IRS investigation, there are lots of other things I'd love to tell them. Screw that guy and his trashy restaurant. I hope he lands in jail. Story 8. This is kind of the opposite. Someone burned their bridge with me, my stepmother. She was, and still is, I imagine, a toxic person. She spent years emotionally and mentally affecting me when she was buzzed out of her mind. When I found out I was pregnant, I simply had enough because I didn't want my future child to endure it either and walked out of her life, as well as my father's, but that was a slightly different story. 7 years go by, then my father passes fairly early in life and everything exploded. She didn't inherit his father's trust fund. It passed before the cutoff date. As my grandfather's only grandchild, I got it, much to her disappointment. 4 months after my father died, she tried to repair our relationship, but her buzzed hatred towards me was burned into my mind. While I felt bad that she was broke and possibly about to become homeless, I refused to help her simply because she and my father refused to help me when I was broke and homeless with a baby. I blocked her and all her children on any social media, changed cell phone numbers, and even moved to a house that GPS can't really find 90% of the time. She had kids, she could move in with them. She could move in with you guys too, unless you leave a like on this video and subscribe to the channel. Story 9. I am in good terms with all but one of my exes. Some are even pretty good mates now. All my exes have one thing in common, and it's that all of them cheated. But time and moving on have allowed me to get over the pain and have most of them still in my life in one way or another. Except one. The very last one I know I just can't be a bigger person about. He went to Thailand for a boys' trip about a month after we started dating. He'd call me every single day saying how much he missed me, etc. One of those days being Valentine's Day. When he got back a few weeks later, he said that being apart from me made him realize he never wanted that again and proposed. I was a little taken aback, but I was in my late 20s then. He treated me really well and was working. Yes, bonus. So I said we should definitely consider it after our honeymoon phase wore off. Several times over the next 12 months, he would bring it up, and then one night he did it formally, and this time I said yes. But aside from planning a wedding, he became really into ice and he changed as a person, completely paranoid and overbearing, so I broke it off 6 months later. That's when he told me that all those months ago in Thailand, he had cheated on me with several different women, including one on Valentine's Day. He had felt guilty, and that's why he had proposed, and every time he started feeling bad, he would bring up us getting married. Dang, that hurt. Aside from that, the paranoia from the meds resulted in the next couple of months after breaking up with him, stalking me, following me home from work, which was over an hour's trip with a train and bus, heaps of prank calls, getting his family to call me asking me to reconsider, then the desperation evolved into threats and blackmail. But as soon as he got my family involved in the topic of a threat, I flipped it at him. Yes, I'm pretty patient. I try reasoning and being rational. Even in his med-fueled altered state of mind, he knew me losing my mind was a big deal and he backed off. I honestly hope I never see him again. I've still put off finding someone because of him. Wait, did the ice usage not fire an immediate red flag for her? Story 10. My parents, my brother, and my grandmother, my mom's mom. Unfortunately, I did not have so much of a happy childhood. My mother is a very angry American who spent most of her childhood being taken advantage of by her older brother and her uncle, and his mates. Some of the issues were that she was being told that if they let them do this to her, they would leave the older sister alone, whilst doing exactly the same thing to her as well. I do feel sorry for her. I wouldn't wish that sort of treatment on any male or female. However, it has greatly affected the way she treated me, her eldest son, versus the way she treated my brother. I don't expect that we shall ever be in contact again. Far too much has happened to go back now. I'm 27, bought my first house with my girlfriend, and neither of us are in debt otherwise. I don't drink, smoke, or do any illegal stuff, largely due to issues as a teenager trying to deal with my childhood. I've had a steady job for 10 years and regularly progress higher in the company, although yet to get to the manager level. Think what you will, blood is not thicker than water to me. I'm very lucky that I'm able to pick the people I call my family and wouldn't change my life for anything about myself or anything. Story 11. My horrible ex-girlfriend. It's been 6 years now and it's still hard thinking back to it. I was a big muscular guy dating this petite cheerleader. If someone was told that there was a toxic relationship going on between us, never in 100 tries would someone guess she was the one. For people who say ignorant comments like, just leave her, or things like that, clearly don't understand. Every day you're being told that nobody else would ever want you and that you're lucky to have a girlfriend as great as she was. Your father should be ashamed of who his son is. I don't know why anybody would waste time on you, etc. You feel so dependent on that person because you feel like there's nobody else who would ever love you and you're going to be alone forever if you leave. It was mostly verbal or emotional, but sometimes it did lead to physical. On days I felt that I could walk away from her comments, she would come hit me. This tears a person down so much that you just can't do anything. The only way that I was able to leave her was that I completely accepted that if I left her, I probably wouldn't ever find anybody else to ever care about me at all and I would always be alone. I was okay with that rather than being with this girl any longer. It was the absolute hardest thing I ever had to do. More and more comments about how I'll never find anybody or ever be loved, how I should end it all if I do actually leave because it will only be worse living without her. I blocked her on every social media, her phone number, everything, save an actual legal document making her stay away and I just felt numb. She showed up to my house multiple times but I never went to the door to see her. It took 3 years before I let someone back into my life romantically, and it was a complete blessing compared to what I was in. I eventually broke things off with her, just because we never saw each other. But as of 4 months ago, I've been engaged to my girlfriend of 2.5 years and we're getting married next June. She's the greatest thing that ever happened to me, the only person I've ever been able to talk about the relationship. I am so grateful to have her in my life. I wouldn't be the person I am today without her pushing me through college and now supporting me through med school as well. Because I burned the old bridge when I did, I was able to move away to college and meet my future wife. I do not regret any part of what I did, and I truly hope that my old toxic ex sees what she has done and changes into a better person. She has 2 kids with different fathers now, and I certainly wish that she would never treat those children how she treated me so they can grow up and live great lives. Story 12. My husband and I had custody of her from 3 years old until she was 13 when she was of age to be able to decide that she wanted to give her mom a chance to be a mom. Then we got her back at age 15 because her mom couldn't or didn't know how to handle her. She had become quite wild in the 2 years she lived with her mom, going from a straight-A student to failing school and staying in constant trouble. Not 6 months after we got her back, Hurricane Katrina happened and took everything from us. About 3 months after the storm, schools opened back up, and one day we dropped her at school and she walked in the front door and straight out the back with 2 friends and they ran away after stealing about $4,000 in cash and jewelry from one of the friends' parents, who had to keep it all at home due to the bank with our safe deposit box being destroyed. They were arrested 6 weeks later in New Jersey. She never ever showed any sign of remorse for doing what she did. We forgave her. Fast forward to now. She has a kid of her own and has been arrested 3 times now in front of him for illegal substances, getting rough with a police officer and family foul play. She still sees no wrongdoing on her part and blames everyone else. The only time she contacts us is when she needs money or to be bailed out of jail. This last time, she manipulated her mom into posting bail because we refused. We're done with her. We're trying to get custody of her grandson because she's poison and will ruin that baby. It breaks my heart, but I honestly believe that she's a sociopath and possibly schizophrenic. But she refuses to hear that, nor will she get help, again claiming that everyone else is why she does the things she does. Story 13. My brother can spend the rest of his life without talking to me and I'd be fine. He's a repeat junkie. If he's sober, it's just because he can't afford it. He's stolen from me, both cash and expensive electronics. He's also brought sheriffs, cops, and FBI to my door on more than one occasion. The last time I told him I'd show them his stash and all the credit cards and other people's names if it happened again. As a kid, my life was made hell because people assumed I was just like him because we were related, so I was treated like crap for it. Now he's all the way across the country living with our oldest brother and nursing a gambling problem in Las Vegas while my brother risks his daughter and wife putting up with him. If CPS found out there was a junkie in the house, they could actually lose their kid. Jeez. Story 14. This may or may not be on topic, but I don't think I've ever had a problem burning bridges. I've done it multiple times in my life if I felt like a relationship wasn't letting either of us flourish. I think it's mostly because I don't view any relationships as bridges. To me, it's more like you're walking down a road and someone happens to be walking on the same path for a while. At some point, it might become apparent that one person is starting down one path and the other person is going down another. It could be for a few different reasons. Drifting apart, a particularly bad argument, a series of bad interactions, etc. Not everyone in your life has to be there forever. Sometimes it's just good enough to experience them in the moment and duration in which you experience them. Remember the lessons you learned from that relationship and keep walking down your path. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you made it this far, I'm sure you'll also enjoy what's the most messed up way to get revenge? Story 4 was cringe. See you in that video.